Hey, what's up guys? How y'all doing? Pad Music Production here from Producer's Bus, and today I made a list of things I'm going to be showing you here in Loopcloud. I'm going to be showing you how to search for loops and selections the right way in Loopcloud, how to actually buy loops and how the points work in Loopcloud, moving loops from Loopcloud to FL Studio. Then we're going to be looking at syncing loops in Loopcloud to FL Studio. Then we're going to be looking at changing the beats per minute, the tempo in Loopcloud, ready for export to FL Studio, changing the pitch in Loopcloud for the exports, again in FL Studio. Then we're going to be looking at the features such as the patterns, the edit, the grid, the tools, and all the other zoom and stuff, and all the tracks at the bottom. So we're going to cover everything you need to know about Loopcloud and how to use it with FL Studio. So I hope you guys are excited as much as me, because this is a really cool tutorial that's going to demonstrate exactly everything you need to know about Loopcloud, FL Studio, and how to use them together. So let's go straight into it. Okay, so let's go straight into this. We're going to go and look at the search. So you got the search bar right at the top, okay? Now, this search works a bit differently. You can search for multiple things. For example, you can type in loops and click search. You get all the loops come up, right? Which is pretty cool. That's what we want. But there's a selection of different loops from dance, trance, hip-hop, and all kind of things. So we want to select the right genre. So I'm going to select maybe trap. Ooh. So I'm going to type in trap. Can't type right. And now I know that in my search results down here I've got loops and trap loops, but these trap loops are going to be anything. So I might want to put hip hop in there as well, so trap and hip hop. So now we've got the right kind of trap loops that I'm looking for. But we've got loops now, we've got melodies and we've got drums and everything mixed together. That's not what we want. We want piano, for example. So we're going to type in piano at the end. Again, piano, and click enter. And now we've got loops, trap, hip hop and piano. So we've ranged down the search results into 4 things. Okay, so we've moved it down to this kind of specific scale. So when we play, this is what we get. So as you can see, hey, so you guys can see, we got trap kind of piano. Let's say we want flute, so we're going to type in flute. And we get all the flute sounds come up now. See that? And that's pretty much how it is. Like you can type in the guitar first if you want, then loops and hip hop, and you'll get all the hip hop kind of guitar loops. You can go down. You might want to put in trap as well. So you might want to put acoustic guitar. So guitar, I'm going to put acoustic guitar in there. Now notice how there's birds tweeting in the background. Guys, that is pretty simple. That's actually the watermark, okay? That prevents people from trying to steal it. Once you purchase the file, you won't have that bird tweaking in the background. As I mentioned, that is the watermarked preview, okay? Okay, so this is pretty much how you search. Now you can also search by clicking on this button at the top here, by clicking on home, and you can drag down and look at different cool things, like all your different stuff. So you got hip hop and lo-fi kind of releases, deep house, Loopcloud packs, and all the different kinds of packs. Okay. You can also search by instruments at the top, so you can select instruments, and let's say you want to select there's all different kind of instruments, as you can see. Got millions of different instruments on here, and let's say we select the synth, so we click on synth, and boom, we got all the synth samples come up. But again, this is from different kind of genres, so you might want to select the instrument first, then you want to select the genre. So we're going to select hip-hop. So you can see now at the top we've got synth and hip-hop. Now you can select different labels. So this is all the labels working for Loopcloud that have created all the loops. If you want to break it down to labels, I'm just going to leave it as that. And then you've got the format, so you can actually search by audio, Apple loops, construction kits, Rex to WAV, and all different kind of presets and synth presets. And you can have a sampler patches and for machine as well, and other formats, MIDI files. You can export MIDI files, look for MIDI files as well, but we don't want to look for MIDI files, so you guys can break down a search like that. Now this does the same thing as you typing it in. So we've got synth, hip hop, trap, and we want loops. There we go. And then once we click on here, this will disappear. At the side here, we get the key and the tempo. So we can select the tempo. You can see there at the bottom it says 100. So we want the tempo to be between 125 to 140. And we only want minor loops, let's say. Okay? And we want it to be, select the key. So we're going to have it G minor, like that. And you can see we got all the G minor loops come up. Now, let's say we want not G minor, but let's say we want a different key like the F minor. So we select F minor, just like that. Pretty cool, huh? And you can see you can just play around. So you got the A minor. Or you want the major scale, you can select the major scale. And now you got the A major coming up. All the loops under A major, C major. But don't forget, the search results is 125 to 39 BPM, synth, hip hop, trap, loops, major. Let's say we don't want the synth, but we wanna add a piano. We can fix that just by deleting that synth and adding a piano at the top. We have now searching just for piano loops being C major. How cool is that? We can take minor, you know, C minor kind of loops, and again so this is how you search in Loopcloud. Really cool, a really technical and advanced kind of search. Very cool to search for different things. If you want to search for hi-hats, perks, it will break it down to the specific key, specific tempo, and you can really get that right sound that you're looking for, and that's really good. Now let's say you like the loops from the specific pack. Okay, so you're gonna click on this icon here, show full pack. And this will now show you the full pack of this, so you can purchase the complete pack with the points, or you can search for different packs within this pack, like the keyboard for example. Look at that. Hey! So that is pretty it, how to search. Okay, so now we're gonna cover how to purchase loops. Really simple how to purchase loops and how the points work. So I have a membership and I get 50 points a day, so I can use that. So at the moment the points are up here, you can see that. My credit is 90 points. So I can pretty much purchase around, each loop costs 2 points, which means 90 divided by 2, I can get about 45 different loops, which is really cool. So once we purchase these loops, they will go into our library, okay? So I'm gonna find a loop that I like. So I'm just scrolling down. Okay, so this is 140 beats per minute. As you can see on here, B minor. That's the original. So I'm gonna buy this. So here I can purchase this, click on this. And as you can see, my points went down to 88. And I've just purchased that loop. So on here, I can now have the original loop or the processed loop. Now, I'm going to show you how to move them into FL Studio a bit later. But this is pretty much how you purchase loops. Pretty cool. And that loop is now purchased. Where is it gone? The loop is here and it's saved to your cloud on your library. So at the top, you can click on your library and click on music loops. You can see all the loops that you've purchased. So you can play them. And you got your instrumental loops that you've purchased. As you can see, and they're all stored on the cloud, so it saves your computer some space, and it's really cool. And the best thing about it is it's so simple to drag it into FL Studio. And you know, on over here you will have everything that you purchase and download, like the kit and stuff. They'll all be here, and you can just view them really simply like this. That is how you purchase different kits. Now let's say you go on this Vickit kit again, okay, and you click on Show Full Pack. You can view the full pack of this once it loads up. Click on Melodics at the top here, and now you can play all of them. So let's scroll down a bit. So pretty cool loops. Now this is pretty cool. I'm gonna buy this loop again. So again, you instead of buying it here at the top as we have, we can buy it down here as well. So we're just gonna click on buy file, and you can see we just purchased that, and that has now changed, and we have that in our library now. Again, if you go into our library, it will be here in our loops. As you can see, there it is. Now the best thing about it, you can click on it, drag and drop it to your own folder. So you can actually right click in here, well, you can actually create your own little folders in here, and you can add your own samples as well from your own folders at the top, which is pretty cool. So that pretty much covers on how the loop system and the points work. Obviously, depending on your membership, if you got 30 points per day, or your membership, like I get 50 points a day, or annually, however you guys are on it, it all depends on how many points you get. Like for example, I get 86 points. I have 86 points, so 2 points will be deducted every time I purchase a loop. There are free loops, however, and you can search for free loops. Really cool, just like the same way I've just done. But you would type in piano, and you would put in free. That's the keyword there. Free loops, and all of these loops are free. Obviously you can put in trap, hip hop, and all these loops are free. They don't cost anything. All of these loops are free to use. And yeah, so that pretty much covers the free loops. We are now going to look at part 3, how to move loops into FL Studio. Cool. Alright, so moving loops into FL Studio, you can go into your library and you can see all your loops that you have here. Right, so you have your loops, and let's say I take this top one and I want to move it over to FL Studio. How do you do that? Where is it located? You know, on here, if you double click on it, or if you right click on it, you can see where it is, but it's on the actual cloud. How do you get it into FL Studio? Well, you can connect it to the DAW down here, or if you don't want to make the connection, you can just hold it, okay, and just drag down to FL Studio. You can press Alt and Tab to move between Loopcloud and FL Studio, just like that, and you can just let go, and boom, there it is. So we can see that it's in there just like that. So by selecting multiples, by holding down Control and the right mouse key, we can select multiple files like this, and by holding the mouse key on all of them and pressing Alt and Tab and going on to FL Studio, we can drag and drop all of them at once. See that? So we've got all of these loops in here. And that's pretty simple, because even though they're on a cloud, they're still being picked up by FL Studio, and you can still use them in a project because the loops are coming in from the actual Loopcloud folder. They're saved in your Loopcloud folder, and they're being dragged over from your Loopcloud folder straight into FL Studio. Now this is it's a shared folder which is on the cloud, so it's pretty cool. Now you can also drag the loops over using the keys over here. So you got the original loop. This will, in case you change the pitch and stuff and you don't want the changed version of the loop, you can click on this original key, and I know it says a little X on there which you guys can see. Don't worry about that. Press Alt and Tab and you can drag the original loop over to FL Studio same way. And if you change the key on here to, like, let's say F, or you change it to D and it sounds different, you can take the processed version and you would have two different versions. So you have the original and the processed version. So that's pretty important there on dragging out the original and the processed, because the processed will be the ones you've edited and changed using the settings on here, while the original is untouched and will always be compressed and used the original version of the actual loop itself. Pretty cool. So this pretty much sums up how to move loops from Loopcloud into FL Studio. Really simple. Just drag and drop, hold the mouse key while shifting over from screen to screen, and if you've got it at the bottom here, you can just kind of press it, go down to FL Studio and just drop. Simple as that. Really cool. Really simple. Right, part 4, syncing loops from Loopcloud with FL Studio. So I've made so how do we actually sync loops from Loopcloud to FL Studio? Okay, I've actually made a quick drum loop here that I'm gonna just use. This is the quick drum loop. Really simple. Now notice the tempo we're working with is 135. Now I want to keep my tempo 135. So the loops I'm going to bring in from Loopcloud, I want to make sure that these loops are in match with my tempo. So what we need to do is for example, going to search for a new loop to make this unique. And this one is 140 beats per minute. Now you can change the loop on here to 135. Loop will slow down a bit. Now if you can't meet it, double click and just type it in. If you need points, you can do 135.5 if you need it. But we don't need points, so I'm just going to type in 135 and press enter. Just like that, the tempo is down to 135. Now we're going to click on the processed version. Okay, we're not going to have it in any key, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to take the processed version and drag it over here to FL Studio. As you can see, it's gone straight in and fallen into our tempo. Now, if we take this and we move it in and it doesn't go in the tempo, if you take the original file and drag the original file, you will see it asks you, do you want to create audio clips, instrumental tracks? Just select audio clips. You can see there it is, but it doesn't fit in with our tempo. See that? It's off. So how do we fix that? Really simple. We double click on there in FL Studio, we select stretch on here, and what this will do is it will stretch the sample to what we need. And so the tempo is 140, so we're going to select 140 on here. Now if you look up here, that's what you need to do. You need to set the tempo of that loop to the right amount, which is 140 in this instant. Now you're thinking, wait, why is it 140? See, once that sample meets the right requirement in FL Studio, it will match the time of the song. So we need to make sure that FL Studio knows that this tempo of this track is 140, so please fit it into our playlist. So we put it as 140, and look at that, it's in there and it's fitted manually. And we can do that with Loopcloud with other samples as well. Let's say this one is 122. So we're gonna buy this file. I'm gonna buy it just for demonstrations because I love you guys. So I've just purchased that for you guys just to show you. I'm gonna take the original file and drag it over to FL Studio. Now look at that. That is way off. You can see that? Really off. Now to get that in line again, double click on the loop. On the side here, select stretch, and the time, look at the loop. Loop is 122 tempo. So we're going to get this to 122. Look at the top here. This will tell you exactly where the tempo is. And once it's on 122, look at that. Fits in there perfectly again. Hey! Really simple, guys. And you know, that will work with any kind of loops you guys have on here. But that's pretty much how it works. Now on the side here, you can also change the loops. You can change it just by clicking on that and drag this up and down if you want a bit more space. Just like that. You know, it just makes it a bit smaller and you get a bit more space to look for your loops. Just like that. Now, just by clicking on this, it makes all the samples smaller. And it's pretty cool. And as you can see, there's millions of different loops that we can use. And it's pretty cool. So this is how you move loops from Loopcloud into FL Studio. And this is how you kind of sync them in FL Studio. So now we are going to be looking at the right beats per minute. So we got the beats per minute right here, okay? So there's different things that we have on here. We've got the main tempo. So usually if you're working in FL Studio with, let's say, 161, 160, you want to kind of change the tempo to 160 on here as well. That way, when you take out this loop, okay, I just purchased that, you'd always take out the processed version. The processed is linked to all these settings, don't forget. The original is untouched. So if we take this to 160 and drag the processed version, and I'm just going to switch over to FL Studio and drop this in, boom, right in there. Now this kind of loop would require different kind of drums, so it sounds a bit cheeky, but yeah, you guys get the point. The loop is nicely in sync. Now let's say we want to work in double tempo, so this is the double tempo. Click on that. Obviously if you do that, you would need to be working in double time. So if you guys are working in double time, let's say the tempo is 70 and you're working in 140, this is where you would select this double time. Pretty much all that does is it takes the tempo and multiplies it by 2. So if you're working with 120, let's say, and you press that, you now have 240. That's all it does, and this does the opposite, makes it slower. So that cuts it in half. And that's it. That's how the beats per minute work in here. And obviously if you want to drag the loop that is on here, that you've processed the right beats per minute, always use the processed version, which you can, and dragging it out into FL Studio just like that. Really simple. Now we're going to be looking at changing the pitch of certain loops in Loopcloud to what we want. So what we do is we first have this section here, the pitch. See that? Not much to it, but that is pretty much what there is. So we're going to take this. Now you can change the pitch by dragging it up and down, but obviously it'd be easier to actually do it by auto. So when we play the loop, let's select a different loop. What we do is we select auto on here and enable that, and now we can change the pitch. F, G, B, D, and yeah, you guys get the point. You can change the actual main pitch of the actual main key. Now this is always going to be a minor, Okay, so you can't actually switch it from minor to major, but it's D major, B major, D. So that will always stick to the right. If you're using major keys or B major kind of, scale, you can't switch between scales, which is okay, understandable, since there would be too much formatting going on, which is okay. Now we've got the octave here, which we can switch the octave. So once we click on it, we've gone one octave up and we've gone one octave down, and now we're back in the middle. So that's how the pitch works in Loopcloud. Pretty simple, and you can really change the different pitch as to what you need. Okay, now we're going to be looking at the pattern section here in Loopcloud. A really cool section which enables you to edit the patterns. So check this out. We've got this loop here. Now we select auto. We get all these different kind of settings. On the side. And obviously, what this will do is kind of like abrogate the loop and change it and give it a different pattern. So let's say we click on bars and beats, so we select 4 bars. This will change it to 4 bars, which is actually what we got. Say 1 bar, you can see it changes the loop to 1 bar. And let's say, like basic, like house kick, for example, really silly, but different kind of, loops and patterns. As you guys can see, you can kind of change it and you can reset it to auto, which will take it back to normal. And that's how it goes. It's pretty cool. Or you can select a random pattern. Pretty cool if you're just bored and just want random kind of pattern. That is pretty cool. That there actually is pretty cool. But yeah, you can kind of play around with it and then just reset it back to normal by pressing the reset. Just like that. So that's what the pattern mode does. Now let's go on to the next part. The edit button mode here. This section, really simple. All this does is you can kind of save your session, your settings that you've got in here, all the settings, and export them, save them, and import them. And you can kind of undo. So let's say you kind of go in here and you take this pattern and you've kind of messed it up or something. You can click on back on here. You click on back and it will take it back to what it was. So you can see now we're going back through all the different settings by going back. Pretty simple. Undo and redo. Really 2 important buttons on here that you guys can use. And this is very good. Like for example, if you cut something up, cut this loop, and then let's say you delete the end and you only have the start. As you can see, and then it stops. And I'm like, oh no, I made a mistake. I didn't want to delete that. You can press back a few times. There we go. It's back and it's joined. And you just fix that issue. So that's how you kind of undo, redo in here in Loopcloud. Really simple. The next thing is the grid. You can kind of set your loops to meet the grid. So if you're working with 1/8, 1/16, whatever you guys are working, really simple. Usually you'd be working with 16 or 8. I like to work with 16, 1/16. Most producers work with 1/16. And let's keep going. So we're going to be looking at the edit tools. So here are the edit tools in Loopcloud. We've got the, the select, the trim, we've got the slip tool, we've got the mute tool. Now to mute a loop, you double click on it. Okay, so just by selecting it, double click, you mute the loop. just like that. You can mute the loop, or you can select the mute to mute it if you want, but you can do the same thing with the normal thing. Slip, you can with the slip, you click in there and you change the start, so change it to here, as you can see. The reverse tool, so you can reverse a loop. Just by clicking on it, you reverse it. So that's the reverse loop. The pitch tool, so you can click in there and drag the pitch up and down, just like that. See that? The more you drag up, the bigger the pitch becomes. The more you drag down, the bigger the pitch. You can undo just by going back. Again, really, really cool. And the pencil tool. Now, most of us won't actually use these tools in here. Okay, we've got FX Edit as well. In the FX Edit, we can add different effects here on the side using this plus button right here. Click on plus and we can add like a delay, EQ, filter, grain, a panner, reverb. So let's say you want to add like an acoustic guitar kind of reverb. Boom. There it is. See that? And we can add more kind of effects, like a delay maybe effect, like a chatter kind of delay. And you guys get the point. So you can add effects and you can delete effects just by clicking on the X at the top, just like that. And to close down the effect section, you got a button here, the effects edit, just turn it off. And you can turn it on again just by clicking on it, just like that. So this is pretty cool. It gives you a full variety of different edit modes on all the loops. You can cut it with the scissor tool, obviously, anywhere you want, and then you can delete anything you want, just like that. You can, you know, mess around with your loops to get them matching to how you want them to be. As you can see. And then obviously don't forget, you would always drag out the processed version into FL Studio, which is what we've got. That's exactly what we've done here. See that? If we move that up and drag that, see that? It's moved up. So that's how it pretty much works. It's pretty cool. Now let's have a look at the last few sections of this Loopcloud. We've got the zoom here. The zoom is really cool. Enables us to zoom in on our loops just by clicking on plus and minus. We can also use this little box at the end and drag up and down, and as we do that, the loop will we can go straight to a quick one section by dragging that box anywhere we want, extending it, viewing the whole loop. Pretty cool there, guys, isn't that? And we can then go back to the original state. Look at that. We can go all the way back to whatever we was at, play around with the loop, zoom in to that loop exactly like that, like we want to. Pretty cool zoom functions, which is what you would expect from any kind of music software or music VST. Now, last thing I want to cover on here is the tracks. Here at the bottom we've got different tracks. So track 1, track 3. So you'd load your loops. So let's say the first track, we clear all the tracks. Let's say we're gonna go for trap drum. So trap, drums, hip hop, hip hop, and loop. So we've now got like, okay, let's just choose one, for example. So we're gonna put this, we're gonna leave this at track 1, okay, because we loaded on track 1. We're now gonna select track 2, and we're gonna load a different kind of, not drums, but a melody. Okay. I'm just going to leave it as an example. So now we can have that one saved on here and have this one saved on here, so we can kind of just switch between the loops. See that? We can go to the second loop. and we can kind of load different loop onto track 3 just by clicking on it. See that? And track 4 we can load a different one. Track 5 we can load a different loop. And obviously you can then export all of them differently, and you can edit all of your loops and keep them saved. And you can have, when you come back to your loops, you can have all your loops you've been working with. Let's say you like 5 different loops, but you only want to use one. So you put all 5 of them here and you save them, and you can then go in here, menu, and save session, and you would save it on your desktop as my main 5 projects. And this would be your next 5 projects. And next time, you know, when you delete these, so you can click on here, clear all tracks, this will delete all of them. And next time when you come on here, you will click on edit, load session, the main 5 projects, and boom, there you go. There's all your 5 projects loaded up that you was working with, and you can continue working from there. So this is pretty much what to expect from Loopcloud. It is really cool, and you can really easily drag loops from Loopcloud into FL Studio, edit them, and do whatever you want. Really cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, equipped in depth on Loopcloud. Now, is it better than Arcade? I have to say yes. The reason I'm going to say yes is there's a more versatile functions. You can really get the right loop you're looking for, instead of just looping and being restricted to certain keys on the keyboard. You can actually, you know, choose the right loop, cut it up as you want it to, and you can drag it out and then manipulate it and edit it in your digital audio workstation known as DAW, as you guys know, and you can pretty much make some cool creative beats. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. This is Pav Music Production from Producers Buzz. Don't forget to hit the like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon. Peace out, take care, ciao.